Well, my friends, happy September 8th, maybe, I don't know. Doesn't matter. I taught middle school science and math at a time, but I could have easily been a history teacher because like many of you, I feel that if history was taught in a way that actually brought the feeling that it was about actual real life people and the drama that surrounded these people, it would have been much more interesting. So this is going to be a little history lesson of something that you may find trivial, but when you look at it, that intrigue, industrial espionage, the whole series of events that led up to me doing this video, I find it somewhat interesting. I was actually spurred on to do this video because I read this line in this forum last night. I was doing a little research, reading a little bit, trying to find something that's rather obscure, and there was a group of people. Some probably, you know how forums drag people in that aren't actually interested in the subject. They just like to argue and be bitchy. Um, it, it was over a name. And I'm going to talk about these things in greater detail. But there was a single person, an airline pilot, that said that back in the 60s and 70s when he flew Sleek Streek, 2 E's, there it is, documented, 2 E's in Streek, said that he learned more about thrust and pitch and yaw and how to trim an aircraft from the Sleek Streek than he did in flight school. And that's interesting to me. People used to play with things, like these scientific toys, and they actually are very scientific toys. Being able to trim them, which means getting everything set so they'll fly up high, do circles, and then glide down nicely. And these people jumped on him, including one person that said that he used to work for the company that produced the Sleek Streek, and the streak is spelled S-T-R-E-A-K. And the airline pilot took some abuse. One guy was like, look at that, an airline pilot that can't even spell streak. It's S-T-R-E-A-K. What a dumbass. And everyone jumped on the bandwagon, and it was only that one person that remembered correctly 2 E's in streak. And there it is. Can't argue it. Anyway, there's intrigue. And I am in some ways could be considered a frustrated industrial engineer. I love the processes of making things. As much as the final product, how do you make things? That interests me very much so. Well, anyway, let's get started. This is an example of an American Jr Hornet, and this is a little rubber band model, and you see it's not like the rubber bands that you remember on the models that you bought. You get contest grade rubber band, a lot longer than you would think, so you can stretch wind it. I actually have a stooge, which means it's like a hook, and I stretch it out, and you can get many more winds to get a lot more duration in your flight from it. But that notwithstanding, American Jr. Elegant little airplanes. And you notice that the wing has actually been, this is one piece right here, subjected to steam and then pressed. It's actually kind of a process. You have to grade the balsa, which means choosing the quality, the grain, the density, blah, 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 and then steam it in the shape. And this is one way to do it. You have a slot through the fuselage, slide the wing in that's been steam bent, rubber band the various things onto it, and away you go. Well, Jim Walker, not of dynamite fame, good times, but James Walker, founded the American Jr Model Aircraft Company in the 20s and developed gliders and various styles of things like this. He was very innovative. I mean, this was new for the time. And he even had a glider that the wings would be pushed back, very aerodynamic, rubber band mechanism, and you take another rubber band, it's called a catapult glider, it shoots up like a rocket, and then the wings fold in the position and it glides down. So James Walker was a heck of a guy. A lot of different models came out of AJ, American Jr Aircraft Company, from the 20s until their final demise. Now, there were a couple brothers. I'm just going to read this. I did my homework this morning. Charlie and Wally Cleveland. Cleveland Models, probably Charlie and Wally's group too, designing various things, including more complex things. worked for Jim Walker's American Junior Aircraft Company from 1946 to 1953, and without Walker's knowledge, were selling their own brand of gliders out of their home near the end. And so they wound up, this is the industrial espionage part, worked for this company, and then were developing their own things on the sly in their home. At the time they were with American Junior, Walker was using a wing slicing machine, and so the balsa for the wings being sliced from a bigger block. They grade it according to density and grain, slice it out, and it would induce a little airfoil. I actually have a form that I use. I wet the wings and then rubber band them onto this form to give, more airfoil. But he developed a slicing machine, the process. And also instructed Charlie to develop this plastic, I don't want to necessarily pop this out, but there is a plastic clip that holds the wings onto the fuselage, that tricky little plastic thing. And what that did was allow the slicing machine to induce a curl for the airfoil into the wings, and allows for, I believe, a better, more reliable way to attach the wings onto the fuselage. And then his brother, Charlie developed it, and then I believe Wally actually invented the machine, developed a small extrusion machine. It's like the Play-Doh Fun Factory to build that plastic clip. Now, advantages: it's more sure. The dihedral, this bend, which gives some pendulum stability to this. It's not going to have the same thing over time of the dihedral unbending out of the wing. And also, if you flow in these things, they hit nose down, the wing slides, and now you have to figure out the position of the wing. It's a matter of center of gravity, or as our flat earth friends would say, relative density, the center of relative density. So you have to retrim it. Whereas these things can crash all day long, and the wings do not slide out of position. Now, they took that, the Cleveland brothers, and incorporated it into their own marketing, their own company. And that bothered Jim Walker, and a lawsuit ensued. And so these brothers, the Cleveland brothers, went off, and I believe they had tax breaks or something. Bend, Oregon, the municipality gave them tax breaks and said, come on up to Bend, Oregon, and start your company here. Employ people, bring money into Bend, Oregon. And so they formed North Pacific. And all this time, there are lawsuits between American Junior and North Pacific, the Cleveland brothers. Very much so. I totally understand Jim Walker's point. They were working for them, developed this technology, and then took it, the wing slicing technology and also the plastic clip. I have to say, in all honesty, I'm not too sure that I could say that the Cleveland brothers were on the up and up here. But that notwithstanding, they formed their own company, North Pacific. Now, why this is important to me, it's that we can look back in the history, the chronicles of history, our deep and dark past. And sometimes things that were made a long time ago, I mean, the 1950s to the 70s, when these things were produced, they're the best. They are the best. You can look at this, and I look at this too and say, that's way cool. This is a cool airplane. But you know what? This simple little Sleek Streek, less mass, less momentum, less breakage when you crash it, this thing can absolutely outperform this thing. In fact, there was a documented case that a pilot of a private plane at 5,000 feet saw one of these things flying past him. It was in a thermal. And so these definitely have flyability. Now, the legal battle continued until Pactra, and I could go up and get model airplane dope. It's kind of a paint-like stuff. They use it on modern airplanes. But anyway, Pactra Chemical Company bought out American Junior in 1963, and because they weren't in the business of building balsa wood airplanes, they were more involved in the chemical industry, stopped the lawsuits. What the heck? Forget it. No more lawsuits. Jim Walker, by the way, died in 1958. Okay, now a brief little bit of history before I get into more detail on probably the absolute best line of rubber band powered airplanes. These simple things. And for me, it's so nice. After a day at Thornswift, I close the gates. I've got nice evening, quiet time. They want to fly. It's fun just stretch winding these things, so I get like 6 circles and just watching them drift overhead and then landing. And it was funny, a deer was watching too. One of my friends, a deer, was up here watching the airplanes, and I went up and sniffed them and then jumped back because she did not like the smell of balsa wood. Okay, these continued on to the 70s. Then they were bought out by Comet. This is actually made by Comet Model Company. And then Comet sold out to Guillo's, Paul Guillo, who still produces a lot of stick and tissue, scale jobs, rubber band, nice models, Guillo's nice models, is still in business now. In fact, this is actually a modern Guillo's rubber band powered airplane, and it has the same wing slot kind of thing. They stopped making the wing clips. And this thing, the modern plane that you can buy at Hobby Lobby, still a decent flyer, but nowhere near the quality of this. Nope, you cannot buy them unless you get a vintage one on eBay, which I do. I've got a collection. I have a number of Sleek Streaks, 3 of them still in the original package. However, to get an actual North Pacific before they sold the Comet, you'd pay $100 for one. I have Comets, 3 Comets, Sleek Streaks, and they've always been EEK in the packages still, and then 2 that I fly that are assembled. They had a wide range of things. This is just one of their gliders, the little space flyer, and see, they all used Eclipse, and there was a range of these things, including catapult, which just means a notch on the front, rubber band. The smallest of the rubber band models, the Astronaut, also a very good flyer, and you see the length of the rubber band. I also stretch wind this thing. Boy, they want to fly. The Astronaut, an amazing flyer because of the wing slicing technology, still has an airfoil. Let's see here. The next step up, let me just put that down there so it doesn't blow away. The Skeeter, I think it's like an 11 or 12 inch wingspan. No landing gear. An amazing flyer. In fact, I had to use my tree climbing technology to get this out of the Norway spruce facing me about 50 feet up, and that was after it did circle glides and came down and landed 50 foot up in that giant Norway spruce. And the reason being, it still has 1/8 inch contest rubber but a small propeller, so not much flight time but a lot of thrust, and it reaches great heights. The Sleek Streak, probably from a design standpoint, is the handsome of the planes, in a good size, you know, just good proportions. And then the Starflyer, which unfortunately I do not have a set of wings for the Starflyer, so I need to figure out how to, first of all, find a good picture of it. In fact, the Starflyer from the 50s, the Starflyer VTO, there are no pictures of them. I cannot find a picture on the internet of them, so I can't reproduce the silk screen to do wings for the Starflyer VTO. And you can see kind of a big lumbering thing, a big propeller. And so this is a high endurance plane. It really is. When you stretch wind this long 1/8 inch rubber, which is the same rubber band material as a Sleek Streak, you know, it's just slower, turns slower, and you know, get 6-7 circles up there, and it keeps getting higher. The thing is a Starflyer. Okay, now where was I going to go with this? The thing is that along with having that plastic clip that holds the wings on, and with the wing curling technology, and every single one of these things went on my form, I ripped a cedar board so it has an airfoil shape. I get the wings wet, put them down there, rubber band them on to really get a decent airfoil in it. The wing clip is an amazing innovation, and these are also noted of having probably the best propellers. They're very thin plastic but yet durable, high pitch, very efficient, better propellers than you find on model airplanes, little rubber band stick airplanes. The best ones. possibly Peck Polymers, which is model airplane company. This is a PP prop on there, Peck Polymers. They're as good, but Peck Polymer props, that's hard to say, Peter Piper Peck, are no better than these original North Pacific props. And so these guys might have played a dirty trick on Jim Walker and American Jr. However, the quality of what they put out, in my estimation, even though this high quality, this reproduction and stuff, they're simpler, and simpler is sometimes better on here in the way of things working. And that is about it. Another little thing, Astronauts, the tiny one. This is interesting. Sun-Kissed Lemonade. I also, because I have 4 of these things, 3 are still in the package, and I play with this one. I'm just going to say it. I play with this one. Playing is okay. They came with, when I bought the 4-pack of these things, they came with these little certificates that you would fill out and give them to your milkman. And if you bought a certain amount of Sun-Kissed Lemonade, you would get an astronaut. The Skeeters, I'm not too sure if they ever had those things. And you notice this is kind of a Frankenstein plane. The fuselage broke, so I repaired it. Super glue. And then I also, because when I took this out of the package, one of the wings had a smaller cord than the other. I don't know what the deal was. But I trimmed them off and then glued an extension on there, like flaps, you know. And so that's that. Again, the Sleek Streek. They had other models. There was a bigger one that actually looked like an airplane. I don't have that. I'm not interested in it. Starflyer. If any of you have any ideas how you can see the color and the quality, it's not that one is better than the other. I'm not using quality in that vein. But on the empennage, the tail section, that horizontal stabilizer, it's different than just using a Sharpie. So I need to come up with a way for finding a good enough picture to reproduce the wings, and then a way of silk screening and then reproducing it so it matches, you know, so I now have a complete Starflyer. Yeah, I know it's kind of a trivial thing, but from the standpoint of the history of a company, the industrial drama, the innovation of design work, you know, and coming up with something that flies so good, I have to respect that. And plus, I have to say, you know, reclaiming a little bit of my past in some ways. I don't necessarily have the urge to have a midlife crisis, but, you know, reclaiming my youth with these little airplanes that gave me so much hours of fun when I was younger, you know, it's a good deal. And plus, I can't afford to restore, you know, old Indians or old Velocets or old Harley Davidsons. This is in my price range. I can, you know, collect these things. That is all. Thank you for watching. I need to get ready to open the gates. Hope I clarified that Sleek Streek had 2 E's in the streak. Anyone that says that it doesn't is a liar. Now I'm done.